social class. We are dealing with the history chapter, Socialism in Europe and the Russian Revolution. So we have seen in the previous class about the First World War, how the Russia entered into the First World War, all these things we saw. Today we are going to see the February Revolution that happened in Petergod. It's a place which has been renamed after the Germans, right? So which we saw in the previous topics itself. So you can find this duration in the year of 1917 onwards. You can find that there was, it is called as an time of grim. Grim means very serious issues were being dealt. Very serious problems were being going on in Russia. So in 1917 you can find that the common peoples were being divided. Common peoples were being divided in the basis of workers and the factory workers, where you can find the factory workers are being facing few problems. The common workers are being facing few problems. So come, let us see what are the problems they are facing and how they get into the Revolution of February. Yes, if you see, this February Revolution was about the workers only. So during that time in 1970s, we saw all the men were supposed to be in the military, right? So when they were being in the military, we saw already food supply should be given to them. So because of which you can find there was a scarcity of food happened. So scarcity of food happened in all the places. Like people felt there was a deep change that has been made in the food grains. Like 1950 food shortage was deeply felt in the workers' quarters also. So even in the workers' quarters, they felt the food shortages happening. And also you can see that there was also an extreme cold condition which is prevailing in Russia. Like it is too extreme. They feel that it is going into the frozen condition and snows are been happening continuously. So this is how the condition of Russia at that time. And during that time you can find that Parliament was wishing to prevent elected government. So who is being Parliament is being restricting them to have an elected government of their own, where opposed to the Tsar Nicholas desire to dissolve the Duma. So even the king Tsar Nicholas is trying to dissolve. Dissolve means what? They don't want this Duma. Duma is an elected representatives who wanted to run the government. So he don't want those things also to happen for the people. So he even want to dissolve the Dumas, which is called as the Parliament. And on 22nd of February, you can find that there was an lockout. Lockout happened. Lockout means they closed an working place, factory. Okay, so what happened? One factory was being closed where the workers were being left out without jobs. So this has led the other workers even to support them. So what happened, the other workers who were there in Russia started striking. So they are showing their opposition in the form of striking in the common places. So they started striking by not working in the factories. Okay, this was done, and this movement was being even led by the women's. Maximum they say it has been led by the women's. So it has been considered as the International Women's Day. It has been celebrated. Okay, so based on sympathy only, these people started supporting them. So the next day, the workers of 50 factories, not one or two, 50 factories, they called for the strike. So they are calling for the strike because they had sympathy towards those workers. They are suffering. So they wanted to show their opposition. And as it was supported by the women's in large number, it is being considered as an international organization, International Women's Day. And the demonstration of workers crossed the factory workers. Across the factory workers, you can find they have started demonstrating central and the capital level. And here you can find the Nivaske Prospect is a person. Okay, so he has been supporting them. At this stage, there was no political party, there was no organization which was being ready to support these workers. So what happens? The workers only have to go and struggle and fight against it. As also you can find that we saw like they had divided the river of Nivas, where in the right side you can find the bank which is having all the aspects like workers quarters and factories are there, and the left side you can find it has the official banks, official working places, and also the buildings of the officials which are being kept. So what happened, the peoples, when they are been striking, they moved to the left side of the river and they started surrendering, or they started capturing the buildings of the government and officials. So this was being done by them. So they imposed certain aspects like crudes, when the people start capturing the buildings and arresting means taking into custody. That is what, not like policemen to put on handcuff and catch them and all. Just having them under their control is called as arresting. So when they take them under the control, you can find that they had a police force which has been sent to suppress, to put an end to this strike which has been developing. Okay, and you can find that the demonstration was despaired by the evening. So when the people, policemen have been beating one another, the common peoples, the workers have been affected. So they felt that it is not really good what is happening. So what they did is they dispersed. They left the area where they were being striking. They went in the evening to their houses. And 24th and 25th you can find that they came back again. The government called off. So they came back again. So what the government did? The government called the cavalries. Cavalries means the animals which will be there, like elephants or horse soldiers, elephant soldiers. They are called as cavalries. So they will be called, and they will be along with the policemen. They wanted this to be suppressed. But again you can find on Sunday 25th February the government suspended the dues, that is the parliament was suspended. The government said that hereafter the due is not going to work in an effective manner. So what the policemen were been doing, policemen were been arranged in all the areas. So these policies spoke out against by the leaders. Their measures were being set by the common leaders. So this still more created an anxiety among the peoples to fight against it. So again they started demonstrating, they started reuniting them, and they focused on the strikes on the street sides of the left of the bank on 26th February. Okay, so this happened. On 27th February what happened, the police quarters were being arrested. Police quarters were being taken in the custody of the common peoples, and in the streets with strong slogans, the crowds are moving with strong slogans stating that about bread, wages and better working hours of the people. So these things they are saying in the common places, and they are moving, they are saying slogans about it. So this situation was still going worse, where you can find that the government becomes irresponsible. The government is becoming and very weaker in their section. So what happens is that again they pull back the policemen back over here, and you can find that the cavalries refused to shoot upon the demonstrators, means the people who are being striking, and an officer was shot dead in that. And also you can find that the many peoples, many regiments were being mutating, means they changed their mindset to leave this and go. That is how they have changed, and voting to join in the striking workers were being arranged. And by the evening you can find that the soldiers, the soldiers of Russia were being striking for the workers, who were being standing. Those peoples, they gathered. These workers started forming their own organizations like Soviet. We saw, now we call it as Russian Soviet, Soviet Union. So Soviet means or a council where they have formed of their own. And they built their own Duma meetings. Duma means parliament meetings, and it has been named as the Pedagogue Soviet. Okay, and very next day, the next day of the all these demonstration that was held, the delegates of these dunes are going to meet the King Tsar Nicholas, and the military commanders advised him to abdicate. Abdicate means just to leave it and go. So he's saying, military head is saying to the delegates who has come to meet the king, just leave it and go, otherwise you will be in trouble. It will lead to some other problem. So what? The few followers even advised them to do so. So what happened is that the people who belong to Doom abdicated. Abdicated means wanted to leave it on 2nd of March. And the Soviet leaders, Doom leaders, formed the professional government to run the country. So separately they formed. They don't want to have a talk or don't want to reduce the power of the king. Instead they started separate government of them. And the Russia further would be decided to constitute the assembly. So elect her the basis of universal adult suffrage. So they started having their own government where it had the representatives and they will be elected by the universal adult franchise, that means voting right. And then pedagogy had been led the February Revolution. So this brought down the monarchy in the February 1970. So they directly showed, they did not go talk with the prince or the king or something like that. They formed their own organization, provincial government, which will be run by their own self, and it is called as a constituency of them, and they improved the power of that, where because of which you can find that the king power got reduced and he was not being considered as a person of aspect. So this pedagogy revolution of February has reduced the power or brought down the power of the king. So this is what is about the February Revolution, my dear students. So please go through it, read it, because without reading you cannot understand history. Just by hearing, history will never be understood. So read it so that you will be knowing. So read it and write 7 points from this. Very, very important points. Okay. So that is the homework. Okay, my dear students. Thank you.